Hey guys, and welcome to the 6th Ranger. Today is obviously the day that we finally got the first episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury, and what else can I do other than review it and break it down for you guys. So first things first, if you haven't yet seen this episode, there will of course be spoilers in this video. You have been warned. Okay, now I should probably also mention that this will be slightly different to my normal videos, as I do normally of course edit them. This one, as I want to kind of get it out and review it as quick as possible, I'm just doing this off the cuff, so please excuse me if there are any mistakes or lots of ums. So let's get straight into the review. I've literally just finished watching it, so it's fresh in my memory, so hopefully I don't make too many mistakes, but please excuse me if I get lots of names wrong or maybe pronounce things wrong. Obviously it's still brand new and I haven't had time to learn the characters' names. So we'll start by kind of breaking down different sections of what I consider make a good show, whether that be filmmaking, story, actors, characters, design, things like that. So first of all, straight off the cuff, we see that they are kind of following this trend in modern day filmmaking of insisting on really long, wide shots. I feel like it's done quite often in shows that have a very fast schedule where they have to shoot lots of episodes and lots of scenes in short spaces of time. They don't focus on close-ups. Instead, they just let the actors run with it and continue the camera running through long takes. It can look great, especially in action sequences, but in my opinion, this is starting to get really overused in this sort of TV. But it works for this, in my opinion. Fortunately, overall, with the filmmaking quality, I think the production level is pretty high. I like the sets that we've seen so far. I forgot the name of the company already, Buzz something, that the Pink Ranger works for. Again, I've forgotten her name. The set does look great. I can't even tell if it's an existing building that they've shot in or whether it's a set that they've made up. It's very bright, very, very colourful, and it just looks good. It's the kind of place you do imagine that sort of modern day social media, BuzzFeed type place. You do kind of picture it to look like it's shown in this Power Ranger season. So then we move into the forest, where the Pink Ranger is searching for ghosts near Dino Henge, where she runs into our Blue Ranger. I believe his name is Ollie. There's a really off-putting shot of a GoPro showing the screen with the Pink Ranger in focus, with her head out of focus in the background. Now, this is really nitpicking, but that really put me off because you can very clearly see that the movement of her head on the camera doesn't even slightly match the movement of her head in the background. They didn't even make a little bit of effort for that, so it's quite nitpicky, but things like that really take me out of the scene. And it happens again a few seconds later when she's about to fire this spook cannon gun thing that she has at what she believes to be a ghost. Again, small detail, and for a kids show, things like that really don't matter. So you understand why they did it, but as an adult fan, it bugs me. Then, when we eventually get into what I guess is the power chamber, the command center, whatever you want to call it, underneath the Dino Henge statues, we're obviously introduced to the Void Knight, who, first of all, I thought he was really cool. The costume design looked great. I'm a big fan of sort of medieval stuff, so that knight aesthetic really works for me. And I also like the color purple. I think it's a really underutilized color in Power Rangers, so yeah, his design along with his voice worked really well for me. He felt quite intimidating and certainly commanded his presence, and yeah, big fan. Then the design of the chamber itself, or I'm not sure if it really has a name yet, we'll call it the power chamber or the command center for now, but it looked cool. The lighting I thought was really good in there, and you can see that it's kind of got, when we first see the command center or the power chamber, whatever we're calling them, in Zeo, and they have the Mighty Morphin suits in the background, it's kind of got that vibe where, you know, you can see the sabers on the wall, and then there's that chamber with the Red Ranger, Zato, I think. It kind of gives me that sort of feel, which I like. That's definitely a good thing. As for the costume design of the Rangers, throughout all the teasing of this show, whether it be through pictures or through the trailer, I've not really been a fan of the character design. Now, people may hate me for this, but I don't watch any of the Super Sentai counterparts. I know nothing about them. I just watch Power Rangers. So I didn't even know what these costumes looked like until getting the trailer. Seeing them live action, for some reason, whatever it may be, in the actual show, like for example when Zato's pod or chamber opened, to first initially reveal him when he was still kind of asleep, I guess, I really, really, really liked the look. Straight away, it kind of impressed me, as weird as that sounds. I don't know why it's different to photos, it just worked. Maybe it was just in the moment in the scene. But yeah, I like that sort of night aesthetic again on the helmets. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, it's not really a dig at Dino Fury by itself, it's more a complaint about recent Power Rangers in general. And that is the props. Now, when you look at the Sabers, when you look at the Morphers, and this goes for many, many previous recent seasons, they genuinely just look like plastic toys. Now, I get that there's a reason for that. I get that they want to be able to sell these toys to kids, and if they look too dissimilar, then kids won't buy it. But this is a TV show. Kids will buy toys that look similar. They don't have to be exactly the same. Sell the plastic toy versions to the kids and make the ones on the show look good, look realistic, put some metal in them. Just give them something so they don't look so cheap. It puts me off every single time I see it. When you go back to Zeo or In Space or Mighty Morphin, the Morphers just look more high quality. You kind of believe that they would be used to transform somebody into this cool superhero. Whereas these, they look like cheap plastic toys you buy in Walmart or Tesco's or wherever. And to me personally, it's probably just the adult side of me, but it bugs me. Again, I don't know if you guys feel the same about these things, but it really annoys me. And same goes for the Sabers. They don't look like they would do any damage. It looks like they're hitting the enemies with a plastic stick, basically. And it is frustrating. I don't see why it's so difficult to have what's basically a real looking sword on the show, like you would with any other normal TV show or film, and then sell plastic prop versions of them to the kids. I don't see the harm in that. Okay, moving on to what I personally consider, and I'm sure most of you will disagree with this, the most important thing in an episode of Power Rangers, and that is the choreography. Now, my background is filmmaking and martial arts. I actually own a film company and a martial arts gym, and these are the kind of things that really keep me involved in Power Rangers. Obviously, I love the story and things like that too, but the martial arts is kind of what got me into it as a young kid and keeps me into it as an adult. Now, something that really stood out on this was, number one, the wire moves didn't look as obvious as usual. I feel like they've really gone up a level with the wire movement, the high-flying stunts. I don't know whether that's just they're performing them better or they're using the editing to cut around them better. But either way, I thought the wire moves that they used within this episode were fantastic. The second thing that really impressed me was, now I know I just complained about the plastic swords, but every time they did hit an enemy with one, the spark felt really solid. It felt powerful. It would have been better if the sword itself looked powerful, but the hit and the movement and the sell of the hits looked great. So kudos to the stunt guys involved in this. Next, the henchmen, which is a clever play on henchmen, I thought. I'm guessing they're going to be the ongoing, recurring kind of mini-villains throughout this series, similar to, say, Putties from Mighty Morphin. I thought their design was pretty cool. I have no complaints about them. Their movement and their, again, choreography was very good. There have been many seasons of Power Rangers where, we'll call them the putty-type enemies, have been super disappointing and just kind of stupid. But these, I think they're cool. The last thing I want to talk about then is the kind of almost bomb drop at the end of the episode where we get a flashback. Now, this is a bit of a lore dump, which, for me, running a Power Rangers lore channel, is very, very cool. They take us back to, forgive me if I'm wrong, I think it's 65 million years ago, to the Red Ranger Zeto's homeworld and kind of his origin story, where he tracked these bad guys to Earth to fight them alongside the dinosaurs. Kind of a weird backstory, but also kind of cool. Now, again, that night aesthetic that Zeto and his people have, I'm a big fan of, and the CG of the dinosaurs in the flashback look pretty good too. But the big and most important thing that we need to talk about is the arrival of the Morphin Masters. Now, this is actually something I didn't know anything about leading up to this episode. I'm not sure if this had been kept a secret or if I just missed it, but I was genuinely quite surprised at this reveal, and very happily surprised if I'm honest. I thought they looked great. The character design on the Morphin Masters was cool. They had this sort of futuristic night aesthetic, but with individual coloured capes that were very bright, very vibrant, and looked awesome. There was mentions of the morphing grid, and how powerful it is, and the Morphin Masters. So, as for lore, I'm glad that we got something right off the bat from the first episode. And if you look closely in this scene, you will see that, although it's a flashback, we do get what I believe is a little hint of who will be our 6th Ranger. Or at least, what the 6th Ranger will look like. The very last thing I'm going to mention then is Zato himself, the Red Ranger. I always find it a little strange when they introduce the main Red Ranger as a character from an alien species. Say, for example, Andros, who, although human, talking about Andros in space now, although human, he came from an alien planet, KO-35. And obviously, everything about him was very human, apart from, 1, his social interactions, and 2, the fact that he could use telekinesis, something that was wasted massively. They kind of hinted at it once or twice throughout the entire season, but never used it. Now that may be down to budget, but who knows. They've introduced Zato can read minds in this first episode. Now, I really hope that they don't do what they did with telekinesis with Andros and just never really mention it again. I hope that it's something that is a useful skill or comes in handy or does something to move forward the story of Dino Fury. It's a tool that could be used very well, so let's hope that they do that. As for Zato himself, the little antenna things are a little bit weird, but I'm sure I'll learn to live with it. And for someone that's been asleep for 65 million years, he has a very modern-day American accent, which again I think is something that only the adult fans are going to pick up on. All in all, this episode was a lot better than I was expecting. There was very little character development to the Blue and Pink Rangers, but we've got, I believe, over maybe even 40 episodes, and maybe, I think, 2 seasons of Dino Fury, right? Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but there's plenty of time for character development, so that's not really a complaint about this episode. Overall, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 and definitely recommend it to you fans. If you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out. Don't wait, because there's lots of weekly episodes to come and you don't want to fall behind. I'm really curious to know what you guys think. Let's discuss this in the comments down below. The main thing I want to know is, are you sick and tired of the dinosaur theme? Personally, before watching it, I was, and when they announced it, I was kind of devastated. But having watched this, I think it works. If I was them, I would have gone with more of a fantasy theme, using the knight aesthetic and the swords. They could have really pulled off something cool with fantasy and magic. I think that could have been cool. But going back to dinosaurs also works, and so far, I'm not complaining about it. Okay, that's it for my review of episode 1 of Power Rangers Dino Fury. Please leave a comment down below and let's discuss your thoughts on the episode. I can't wait for episode 2. I'll review that next week as well, hopefully with a little more time to put some effort into this review. Let me know what you think, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time on the 6th Ranger.